All right, folks, buckle up because we're diving headfirst into the snarling, swaggering world of George Thorogood's Bad to the Bone. You know the one, that riff that hits like a freight train wrapped in barbed wire, the kind that makes you feel like you're strutting down a dusty alley with a switchblade in your pocket and a devilish grin on your face. Even if you're the type who swears up and down that your playlist is all indie folk and artisanal jazz, don't lie to me. You've hummed this bad boy at least once while revving your engine or staring down a tough day. It's the anthem for every rebel without a cause, every anti-hero in a leather jacket, and yeah, probably every dad at a barbecue pretending he's still got that edge. But here's the hook. What if I told you this song wasn't just born? It clawed its way out of the blues underworld, almost got hijacked by a legend, and left a trail of cultural wreckage that's still smoldering today. Stick around, because by the end, you'll be questioning everything from backmasking boogeymen to why this tune makes Joe Rogan blush harder than a conspiracy theory gone viral. And trust me, we're going to peel back the layers with some visceral vibes, obscure nuggets that'll make trivia night your battlefield, and enough irreverent jabs to keep things from getting too sanctimonious. Let's crank it up. Picture this. It's the late 70s, and George Thorogood is out there grinding like a man possessed. This guy's no overnight sensation. He's a Delaware kid who traded baseball dreams for blues riffs, inspired by Theroux Howl of legends like Howlin' Wolf and John Lee Hooker. He's touring relentlessly with his band, The Destroyers, building a rep as the ultimate barroom brawler of rock. And then bam, during their infamous 50-50 tour, that's 50 states in 50 days, folks, a grueling marathon that'd make most musicians cry uncle, George starts tinkering with his first ever original tune. Yeah, you heard that right. Before Bad to the Bone, Thorogood was mostly covering blues classics, paying homage to the greats. But this one? It simmers in his brain for months, bubbling up from the depths like a bad hangover you can't shake. The spark. Pure blues alchemy. George draws straight from the well. That iconic stutter-step riff echoes Muddy Waters' Mannish Boy from 1955, the one where Muddy declares himself all man with a growl that could curdle milk. And don't forget Bo Diddley. His I'm a Man from the same era lays the groundwork, that shave and a haircut rhythm that's impossible to resist. George amps it up, adds his own gritty snarl, and voila, lyrics about being bad from the cradle to the grave, breaking hearts left and right, all wrapped in a package that's equal parts threat and flirtation. On the day I was born, the nurses all gathered round, and they gazed in wide wonder at the joy they had found. Come on, that's visceral stuff. Imagine those nurses starstruck by this tiny terror, like he's Baby Yoda with a bad attitude. But here's where it gets juicy. George almost hands the song over to Bo Diddley himself. Yeah, the man who invented that beat. They're hanging out, George plays it for him, and Bo's like, I dig it, let's cut it. George thinks, holy smokes, my hero wants my song? But then, in a twist that'd make a soap opera jealous, Bo's label drags their feet, and George reclaims it for his own album. What if Bo had recorded it first? Picture an alternate universe where Bad to the Bone is a Diddley deep cut, and Thorogood still slinging covers in dive bars. Would we have missed out on the ultimate badass anthem? Or would it have exploded even bigger, with Bo's maracas shaking the foundations? Ah, the road's not taken, kinda like choosing between a Harley and a Vespa. One's gonna leave you windburned and exhilarated, the other's, well, cute, but not exactly bone bad. And speaking of bad decisions, let's talk about how this tune clawed its way into the world. Fast forward to 1982. George and the Destroyers are holed up in the studio, laying down tracks for their fifth album, aptly titled Bad to the Bone. EMI America drops it on September 17th. Mark that date, trivia hounds, because it's the day rock got a permanent tattoo. The album's a beast, 9 tracks, mostly originals this time, with George flexing his songwriting chops. But release day? Not exactly fireworks. No massive chart domination. Nope, it peaks at number 32 on the Billboard 200. and the single doesn't even crack the Hot 100 initially. Ouch! Talk about a slow burn, like a cigarette left smouldering in an ashtray while the bar empties out. But oh, the shenanigans that turned the tide. Enter MTV, that neon-lit savior of 80s rock. The video for Bad to the Bone is pure gold. George in his shades, shredding on his Gibson, playing pool against Bo Diddley in a smoky hall. Bo pots the 8-ball, George smashes his cue. It's got drama, cameos, and that riff blasting like a siren. Willie Nelson even pops in for a handshake, because why not throw a country icon into the blues mix? It's like a fever dream where blues, rock, and outlaw vibes collide. And get this obscure gem. The video was directed by Scott Rockwell, who later worked on stuff like Beverly Hills Cop. But here it's all raw energy, no polish. Behind the scenes, George admits the band was exhausted from touring, recording in bursts between gigs. Imagine laying down that snarling vocal after a red-eye flight. Gritty doesn't even cover it. Then there's the promo chaos. MI pushes it hard, but radio's picky. Classic rock stations bite eventually, but pop? Nah. Yet word spreads like wildfire in a whiskey-soaked rag. Live shows become legendary, George wailing on his sax, the Destroyers pounding out that rhythm like it's Judgment Day. One fun aside, George once said he wrote it thinking of Keith Richards, that Rolling Stone pirate who's bad to the bone incarnate. Satirical swipe incoming. If the Stones are the kings of rock excess, Thorogood's the duke of dive bar democracy, making blues accessible without the private jets and tabloid scandals. But hey, if George had gone full Mick Jagger, would we have Bad to the Bone or Bad to the Lone after all those alimony checks? Just kidding. Respect to the genius. Without his urgency, we'd be stuck with watered-down radio fodder. All right, hold on to your leather pants, because now we're ramping up to how Bad to the Bone clawed its way from album cut to mythic beast. Controversies? Oh, they've swirled like smoke in a backroom poker game. First off, that riff, borrowed or stolen? Blues fans know it's homage, not heist. George credits his influences loud and proud. But in the 80s, with hair metal stealing spotlights, some purists griped that Thorogood was commercializing the sacred blues. Mini cliffhanger, did it spark lawsuits? Nah, no legal drama here, unlike some bands fighting over hooks. George keeps it clean, respectful to the roots. Then there's the wilder myths. Backmasking anyone? You know, that 80s panic where parents flipped records backward, convinced Satan was whispering shopping lists. For Bad to the Bone, folks tried it. Play that riff in reverse, and what do you get? Garbled nonsense like Inob 8 Ot Dab, which sounds more like a drunk ordering at Taco Bell than a demonic summons. Debunked, no hidden messages here, unlike Stairway to Heaven with its alleged, "Here's to my sweet Satan." George's tune is straight-up bravado, no occult Easter eggs. But here's a satirical jab. If there was backmasking, it'd probably say, drink more bourbon, support local blues, because that's the real agenda. And get this obscure trivia bomb. Some anti-circumcision activists, yeah, you read that right, claim the song's a metaphor for, well, neonatal snipping. Bad to the bone, as in don't mess with the whole package. Come on, that's stretching it thinner than a guitar string on its last twang. George has never confirmed it. It's probably just overzealous interpretation, like seeing Jesus in toast. Debunked again. It's about being a lifelong rogue, not anatomy debates. But what if it was? Imagine the music video remake. George strutting through a hospital, nurses cheering but with protest signs. Absurd? Totally. Funny? You bet. Now, the cultural ripple effects? This song didn't just hit, it infiltrated. Pop culture absorbed it like a sponge in a beer spill. Movies? Boom. Terminator 2, where Arnold's T-1000 struts out all leather and menace. Perfect sync. Christine, the killer car flick. Major League, pumping up the underdogs. TV? Married, with children. Miami Vice, even The Simpsons. It's the go-to for any scene needing instant badassery. Sports arenas blast it for walkouts, making athletes feel invincible. And commercials? From Buicks to beers, it sold everything rugged. Obscure Ripple. It was once the most downloaded ringtone in the early 2000s, turning flip phones into mini concerts. Culturally, it bridged blues to mainstream rock, inspiring bands like ZZ Top to amp their swagger. But swipe time, in a world of auto-tuned pop, Bad to the Bone, reminds us real grit doesn't need filters. It's raw, like a Deadpool monologue in a blues bar, slicing through pretension with a wink. Ooh, we're deep in the legacy now, and Bad to the Bone ain't fading. It's fossilized in the rock strata, still quaking the earth. 40-plus years later, George is still touring at 74, proving he's bad to the bone and beyond. The song spawned covers galore, from metal bands to parodies, but none capture that original snarl. Obscure trivia alert. George was a semi-pro baseball player before music. Imagine if he'd stuck with it. We'd have a slugger instead of a shredder. What if? Alternate timeline. Thorogood hits home runs for the Phillies, and Bad to the Bone becomes a stadium chant without the riff. Lame, right? Instead, it's influenced everything from wrestling entrances, Hello, Stone Cold Steve Austin vibes, to video games like Grand Theft Auto. Lasting weirdness? The phrase itself predates the song. It's old slang for utterly wicked, but George immortalized it. Cultural echoes. It's quoted in books, memes, even politics when someone's called irredeemably shady. And that video with Bo? It full-circled the inspiration like a blues baton pass. Satirical aside, in today's cancel culture, is being bad to the bone still cool, or do we need a trigger warning for heartbreaking? Nah, George's genius lies in the fun, irredeemable fun, that is. All right, rebels, we've shredded through the birth, the brawls, the myths, and the mayhem of Bad to the Bone. If this tale's got your blood pumping like that riff on repeat, smash that like button, subscribe for more rock lore that'll make your grandma blush and your dog howl, and drop a comment. What's your baddest memory tied to this tune? Until next time, stay bad, because good's just too damn boring. Bad to the bone.